me to turn on my camera, so he was hiding me in the back. Thank you for announcing me.
Oh.
You did well because I think he's trying to steal my thunder. It might be a Kenya versus Uganda thing going on.
Thing, no, 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 not at all. Eric, you're welcome. Please enable Eric's video so that we can see him. Eric, you're speaking from which part of the world?
I am in Washington, D.C.
Awesome, awesome. How are you otherwise?
I am dangerously blessed.
Dr. Munyi, you have taught this man some good language.
He's a master of language himself. What has happened is that he has taken so much from Nigeria, so much from Ghana, so much from Southern Africa, particularly Zambia. As the president of all of us.
I got very concerned because the SG and I just left the College of MCs training. They are still waiting for you since yesterday, so I was afraid you won't make it here today. But I can see that it's about what is your primary assignment, so it's understandable.
Let me tell you, programs start at 3 a.m. I become a little bit jittery unless Veronica pulls me into a room. Sometimes I forget, so I'm blaming this on Veronica.
No problem.
Okay, so I think we are set to start. Professor, as I promised, 5 minutes at the top of the hour, we'll be able to start this conversation. You're welcome, members. You're welcome, panelists. Thank you for choosing to join APRA and PRF Fundi to discuss this defining conversation of our profession. My name is Ian Romanika, and I lead a team of PR experts under Node Group, a leading PR agency in East Africa, but also in some parts of West Africa. We collaborate with institutions like Stratcom Africa. So you're welcome once again. And today we are honored to be joined by distinguished panelists. I think I was looking at the years of experience. When you combine, now that Dr. Monyi is also joining, I think it will come to like 300 years of experience.
Yeah.
Ari Karan alone has 28 something years. Professor has 38 something. Madam Irene above 25. So you combine, you can see we are around 120 years of experience. Well, we are honored to have you very important people discussing important conversations that we need as we pave the road to the historic joint APRA and World PR Forum 2026 conference, which I think will happen in Abuja. Correct me, Mr. President. Abuja between November 15th to November 21st. So that's why we're having this conversation, because we know the stakes are high for all of us as communicators, and Africa is going to be the epicenter of PR discussion in November, and we want to start this conversation early enough. How do we discuss digital revolution in Africa? How do we battle misinformation? How do we continue to redefine the global public relations landscape, starting with Africa? So participants, you're welcome from wherever you're tuning from. In this session, we have very important people, as I've already mentioned, and we are going to discuss Africa's foremost key points that would lead us to high-level media literacy, name it, ethical practice, But before we go and dive into the discussion, allow me introduce the people that I have on the panel. Professor Emmanuel is the chairman of Continental Advisory Committee of the World PRA Forum Abuja 2026. You're welcome, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Professor is a PhD holder, is a communication scholar, a peer leader of over 30 plus years of experience. He's serving as a vice president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, but he's also a founding executive director of SDEVCOM at Nasarawa State University. He's widely regarded as one of Africa's leading voices in participatory and developmental communications. We are honored and privileged to have you, Professor, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Irene Lungu, who is the chairperson, African Regional Global Alliance Council. Irene, you're welcome. Madam Irene
Thank
has
you.
over
Thank you
20
very much.
years of experience in corporate communications and stakeholder engagement. She is currently serving as acting director commercial at Zafico PLC. She is the immediate past president of the Zambia Institute Public Relations and Communications body and the board director of the Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communications Management. You're welcome, Irene. We are privileged to have you. And thank you for
Thank you very
balancing
much.
the vote of these able men. Arik Karan, who is also our panelist tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a president of so many colors, president of APRA, PRSK, president of World Bank to be. He is currently the president of the African Public Relations Association. You're welcome, Arik.
Thank you.
He serves as a communication lead at Wikimedia Foundation with over 25 years of experience as well. He has advised governments and organizations, including World Bank, on strategic and crisis communication. In fact, the only government he hasn't advised, I think, is the Ugandan government, and we wish him the best. You're welcome, Arik. Welcome, Irene. Welcome, Professor Emmanuel. We're going to have a discussion and a conversation this evening, and the topic is the road to APRA 2026, World Public Relations Forum 2026, under the theme Advancing Responsible Communication for Africa's Future. It's a mouthful, but we'll see how to break it down for the participants tonight to understand. And I'll start with my president, Arik. The theme is a mouthful, as you can see, for the APRA conference coming in Abuja, Responsible Communication in Africa. What does that mean to us as PRA professionals, but also as participants looking forward to join you in Abuja to discuss the future of communications in Africa?
I think when we are looking at a question of what is responsible communication, we have to look at it from the context of Africa as a continent. What is Africa experiencing right now? Africa is experiencing a boom in the digital growth. Africa is experiencing a lot of technological change. Look at the social media, look at the artificial intelligence, look at how digital transformations are happening across various platforms, and they're changing how people communicate and access information. Africa is experiencing a lot of conflict and insecurity. Depending on which region you're in, there's always something going on at one particular point. Africa is experiencing a lot of youth population boom. There's a huge growth of the young people. Africa is experiencing a lot of economic and social inequality. When you look at the gap between the rich and the poor, it's widening. Africa is experiencing a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation. But above all, Africa is experiencing a lot of trust issues. There's declining trust in media. There is declining trust in institutions. There's declining trust in public officials, whether we voted them in or whether they were appointed by the various government. There's all this declining trust in various issues. So, what does this mean as an African and in terms of responsible communication? Responsible communication thereby now becomes one of the tools that is very important for us to be able to communicate our issues and communicate our successes in a way that we are able to rebuild trust, but we are also able to ensure that as much as we are experiencing a lot of negative things, we are also experiencing a lot of positive things. So, responsible communication for me and in the context of Africa looks at public relations as a self-regulation tool where we are regulating ourselves and we are talking about ensuring that whatever we are putting out there is one that is building public trust. Number two, that whatever we are putting out there is protecting the integrity of the information of the continent. And lastly, that communication that we are doing publicly is contributing positively to Africa's development and democracy agenda. We have to be able to realize that responsible communication and how people view the continent starts with us. So, as we are communicating outside, we have to ensure that we are positively bringing out Africa's development and democracy agenda, but also at the same time highlighting the challenges that we are facing as a continent, with a caveat in terms of these are the challenges and this is how to improve on these challenges. This is how we can solve these challenges, as opposed to just communicating and saying these are the challenges and this is horrible and this continent is gloomy and dark. So responsible communication is, for me, how we will communicate publicly in a way that we advance our development agenda.
Awesome. So in short, Arik, you're saying responsible communication, especially the topic we're going to discuss in Abuja, is not a slogan. It's not just a catchword that we're going to discuss. It's a critical aspect that will safeguard Africa's democracy, but also the economy as a whole. Thank you very much, President Arik. And speaking and also picking from what you have just discussed, I would like now to ask Madam Irene on the same theme of the World Public Relations Forum 2026 that we are discussing in Abuja in November, responsible communication, the voice of the world. How do you define this and speak to us in terms of evolving responsibility us as professional communicators, but also from your perspective under the Global Alliance perspective? Why is this conversation critical today?
Thank you. I'll just build on to all the very good message already convened by President Arik, and adds that I think this is a timely conversation for us as Africa. And I think very timely in the sense that as Africa, perhaps there's even a deeper conversation that we need to have and ask ourselves, what do we really mean by responsible communication? Because it's very easy to use it as a buzzword, as is happening now. But what what does it mean for Africa? More so because if you look at the way we relate in Africa, cognizant, of course, as President Arik said, there's population growth, there's democracy growing in Africa, there's innovation, there's digital transformation taking place. But in all these different tiers that are affecting us as Africa, at the center of it all, we are such a unique continent and population, because the way we relate as governments, with media, with civil society, with community as Africa is so different from the developed world, even when the facets of democracy are the same. The way we relate in Africa is very different. In Africa, we relate in such a manner that a high-level government official, for instance, makes such a pronouncement at a political rally that sets the entire country into so much change, just from speaking at a political conversation. So it means that we have to tie in professionalism in communication to how then that manifests itself. And I can speak so because today in Zambia, I wouldn't be surprised if you have very few Zambians on this call, because we have general elections today. After 5 years, we are re-electing a president and all the parliamentary as well as local government elections. So you can imagine in a space like that ethical conduct then becomes really important for us in talking about responsible communication. In an elective period such as what we're going through as Zambia at the moment, it's even issues of what do you communicate? How factual or truthful is what you are communicating? Because it's very easy for one to go on social media, because we now all have access to phones and to all these digital platforms where you can just, out of excitement or unverified information, you can disseminate information that can cause turmoil in a political situation such as the one we are sitting in at Zambia. So for me, just to add on what President Arik said, it's about building professional conduct that ensures that there is ethics at the center of what we communicate. And in looking at ethical conduct, then we look at what is it that you're communicating? How are we communicating it? How does the ordinary person in rural Zambia or rural Uganda, as an example, understand this message? Is it clear? Is it simple enough? Is it factual? Does it respect the community that you're dealing with? Because for Africa, all that is extremely important. Even when we talk about responsible communication, people want to feel valued and respected, even when they are below the poverty line, as we would say, given the different economic status that we have. So at the center of communication for me, in terms of responsible communication, is to always remember that whatever we communicate must be factual, must be clear, must be simple, and must respect the dynamism that we have as an African continent, which is very different from the developed world. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Irene. Good conversations happening. Without a doubt, we are facing a universal crisis of trust from what Arik said, and how do we make sure we simplify it for everyone to understand that responsible communication is everyone's responsibility. And Professor, speak to me as a PR profession in Nairobi, Kampala, maybe Kigali, Cairo, Kinshasa. Why should I come to Nigeria in November to discuss responsible communication?
Well, thank you so much, Ian. The truth of the matter is that my two colleagues on the Continental Advisory Committee have stated some of these reasons. But what is most important is that every professional is at the crossroads. That will require us to retool, that will require us to network, that will require us to also share experiences. This is what Abuja 2026 offers. We have a special day for Africa where all APRA members will come share ideas. We also have 4 different days that we'll be engaging collectively with every other colleague that is coming from every part of the globe. This means that If you are not in Abuja, then you are not preparing to be a public relations professional of the future. And as host, Nigeria has done a lot connecting with other African countries, also with the support of APRA, with the support of Irene as chair of the African Regional Council of the Global Alliance, and support of other board members of the Global Alliance, alongside presidents of associations of this practice across Africa that are members of the Continental Advisory Committee, which I'm privileged to chair. We are very conscious of the fact that WPRF 2026 and APRA Conference 2026, they are significant events. APRA just turned 50. The Global Alliance itself is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And of course, you know that by all standards, any competition you go for, any event you go for that is competitive, you want to win gold. And if it's not possible, you want to win silver. So this is one event that has combined the two top medals that you can get from any outing. And so we believe that it's going to be a successful outing because it's designed ab initio to celebrate 50 years of existence, which is good, and 25 years of existence of the two principal partners that we're working with. So we see this as an opportunity to make a statement about who we are as public relations professionals, what Africa believes communication should accomplish, and what role Nigeria is prepared to play in shaping the future of public relations, working with other African countries globally. Now, if you look at our preparation, you will see that we started as the National Association hosting in releasing the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations definition of public relations. That is agenda setting. That is visioning. And this is a definition that is well thought out, which says that public relations is a strategic leadership role that builds trust, reputation, lasting relationships, and drives inclusive development through ethical, transparent, and culturally respectful communication. You will see that that is Africa talking. We're not talking for a country, we're talking as a continent. And as I've argued elsewhere, that definitions shape practice. Practice shapes reputation, and reputation shapes the future of a profession. So for this NIPR definition, we are saying that public relations is more than semantics. It's a declaration that we believe the profession must travel, the trajectory the profession must travel after Abuja 2026. And so it's very, very significant because in that definition, you see that we're saying that public relations goes beyond publishing images. It's a strategic force now for leadership, for development, and social trust. And so it's speaking for Africa. It's mainstreaming African voice because it tells you that we are resting our convictions on three pillars. One, inclusive development. Two, respect for African cultures and language and lived realities. And three, we are anchoring all this on ethics, conscience, and trust. These are values that Africa continues to aspire to and continues to contribute globally to the world. So as I conclude, the theme of responsible communication for me speaks directly to this moment where Africa is rising up to provide leadership. Africa is not just coming to participate in a global conversation. Africa is coming to demonstrate leadership. This, again, as President Arik has said, is happening at a time when institutions' trust is thinning, and you have also alluded to that. So just as digital platforms have multiplied voices, information also travels very fast. And artificial intelligence has also, in a way, made it easier for both the right and the wrong things to be promoted very fast. And so this hosting of WPRF by Africa through Nigeria is a way of telling us that we must move the practice of public relations in Africa and also globally beyond managing appearances. We must help to build the bridges of trust that hold societies together. So WPRF Abuja 2026 should therefore be more than just an event, and that is how we see it. It should be, and is designed to be, a turning point. Africa comes not as a guest at the table, but as a contributor, this time with ideas, experiences, and intellectual capital. So our ambition is simple. When the world hits Abuja, it should live with a deeper appreciation that responsible communication is everybody's responsibility, and Africa has both the wisdom and voice to help define it.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Professor. I think you put it excellently well. I feel inspired that Africa is now ready to set the PRA standards of the world. And we are ready to lead conversations, starting with Abuja. Conversations of accountability, conversations of PRA excellence. And that's why we need to come to Abuja and have these discussions with the president himself. Speaking of the president himself, Arik Karan, I think the professor hinted that self-regulation is one of those topics that we're going to discuss in Abuja. In your view, the role of self-regulation, what does it play in strengthening things that we have always talked about: trust, credibility, PR professionalism within our industry as Africa?
Yeah, I think the role of self-regulation is very interesting. Yesterday, I was traveling from Paris to Washington, and I happened to sit next to an accomplished communications scholar. She's called Dr. Shamila. And we introduced ourselves and we were talking about what we do. And I explained the issue of uh, self-regulation in terms as our conversation went along. And I had never seen that. I had always thought that everybody was a proponent of self-regulation. Up until yesterday, I had never witnessed someone who is against self-regulation, whether it is government regulation or self-regulation for the industry. And so one of the key things I did there was to sit and listen to the argument that Dr. Shamila presented. And I was texting her just to get her concurrence to mention her name. And after hearing her, she almost convinced me that we should stop self-regulation as a continent. Because I looked at it critically and I was thinking about all the other industries she was mentioning, America, Europe, and all the countries she was mentioning, and she was saying these countries have not gone for either self-regulation or government regulation. And what is this supposed to change the profession that we all are in? And my argument with her, and still sticks up until now, is that self-regulation is very important because it helps to build trust. And it helps to build trust by ensuring that we as the practitioners are upholding a higher ethical and professional standards in everything that we are doing. So for me, it's all about credibility. And when we do our work with credibility, we are promoting transparency in the actions that we are taking. We are promoting accountability. We are promoting accuracy, and we are promoting responsible communication as a whole, not only for the continent, but also for the various sectors that we are in, whether you're in tourism, wildlife, development, finance, anything. And so I think self-regulation really helps practitioners to take responsibility for their work. It helps us to protect the reputation of our profession, and it builds a greater confidence in PR as a trusted profession. Well, by the time we were landing, I said, you know what, Dr. Shamila, I think you should come to Abuja because I think we need to have a platform where you are also sharing your different views as to why regulation is not important. Because at the end of the day, we need to exchange ideas to find out what's your side of the thing and what's our side of the thing, and to find a middle ground. And by the time we were parting ways, I think I had almost convinced her into self-regulation as a direction. I doubt it, but I think I did a better job at making her question some things. And so self-regulation for us and as a conversation in Abuja will be the conversation of, should we regulate ourselves for the credibility of the work we do and for people to respect our profession? Or should you wait for the government to come and regulate you? And once the government regulates you, it comes with its own rules and its own policies and structures of how the industry should do. Or should it be just a wild goose chase for everybody to just jump in? I'm very grateful for countries such as Zambia, Nigeria that have actually gone into regulation and self-regulation, and you can see the practice is different from those countries in terms of how PR practitioners are treated and how the messages are actually out there, with other countries that have not done either self-regulation or even government regulation. You can actually tell the difference. So in Abuja, I am looking forward to conversations from countries that have done it before to tell us the benefits, from diverse opinions like Dr. Shamila, why it's really not necessary, and from us as the continental body to talk about the importance of self-regulation in a view of building the trust and rebuilding the trust that Africa is now working towards. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I must say you represented very well Africa on that flight, and you represented as a true trusted advisor to Dr. Shamila. We look forward to seeing her in Abuja so that we convince her on how trusted advisors like you are shaping narratives from Nigeria to the world. Thank you very much, Eric. Now, Madam Irene, as the chairperson of the African Regional Council, I must say you're the right person to ask this question. In a space where now communications is defined by misinformation, artificial intelligence, digital disruptions, and a declining public trust at a terrible speed, what does responsible communication mean to us in practice as PR professionals? If you could share more about that.
Thank you. I think that just picking up from where President Arik left, you can see that even in Africa as it is, to give an example, for instance, he gave an example about with Zambia and Nigeria, for instance, where the practice of PR and communication in the two countries is supported by legislation. And as you said, there are benefits that we can see to that. However, that doesn't take away the strides being made by many other countries who are self-regulated, if I can use that term to start with. I mean, if I think about the work that's going on in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa, Uganda, name it, so many countries. But at the center of it all, I think that there's a very big call on us as PR and communication professionals to deliver and make that difference in society. Because, as we stated earlier, responsible communication is rising to the core and recognizing the diversity of Africa in our culture, in our languages, in our way of life, the economic variances across, even within one country, the dynamics of economic status across is something we can't ignore. So I think that to the extent that a communicator is able to bring value, so let's look at it different ways. At the center of everything that we do, whether it is in a religious setting, in a community, in a business setting, in government, there's a need for communication to serve different needs at different levels of governance and decision making. So when we then have communicators that are bringing value by ensuring that the communication that is needed in a civil society setup, in governments, in private sector, being able to package it in appropriate manner for one to be able to make decisions. When that value is delivered, we make a difference even without defining it. If we look at the issue of misinformation, disinformation, the core now for a communicator in Africa or across our countries is that we must now take PRA to another level where we plan and are proactive in delivering that mandate as experts, as communicators. That way, then we are proactive and we are preventive. Because when we start reacting, when the narrative is built about your organization, about your country, and now you're trying to, solidify it and give the correct picture, it's very difficult to change a narrative when wrong information is disseminated. So for me, I think that it is a call for, first of all, realizing that there's a pool of communicators that are knowledgeable, that are qualified, that are gaining experience over time to be able to deliver the mandate of communication needs across organizations, across a sector, across the country. And doing it in such a manner that we plan and implement proactively other than reacting. That way, then we can place a value for communication for people to appreciate that we are playing a role in society and delivering. So that way, then we are responsible enough in ensuring. So in that manner, then it's properly packaged. We are cognizant of the diversity of local languages, even as we package it, meaning making sure that it is delivered timely in the manner it should be delivered. Then people value that we are playing a role, And again, I'll just go back to the Zambia example, because right now we are in the middle of elections. Voting hasn't even closed. It's closing in the next 20 minutes or so. So imagine the mandate that the different political parties have gone to deliver information to the electorate on what they have done for the country, like for the sitting government, what they have done for us in the last 5 years of governance and what they can do for us in the next 5 years to come, or for those that are vying for elections, being able to communicate what they think they would do differently. At the center of all that is communication, and that's where the role of the communicator plays in. So it's different in a different settings, but very valuable to making a difference and change to society. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene, for shaping that conversation in that direction. Without a doubt, I see the SG is excited. He keeps clapping, but in silence. Secretary General, you're welcome. Good to see you here. Dr. Omonyi.
I'm here. I'm following. Everybody has spoken very well.
Yes.
Both my primary constituency, which is Abuja, represented by Professor Dandara, and of course, my president, Eric Karani, and our very good sister, Irene. Yeah. She's spoken well. So I'm just following. I'm excited about the perspectives they are bringing in.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor, the Secretary General of APRA there. Thank you very much for tuning in and always supporting us in these master classes. I remember one of the classes you advised African PR professionals to prioritize authenticity over speed. And I think that's the same line of discussion that Madam Irene is having. But also you emphasize that we need to ensure human empathy remains a core of all our messaging and communications as PR professionals. Thank you, Doctor, for that.
Thank you.
And continuing to
thank you.
Yeah. Professor Emmanuel, building from what Irene has been discussing, and that conversation is becoming more interesting, even when time is not on our side. We are speaking about ethics, accountability, commitment to the community interests. From your perspective, especially from the organizers of this conference happening in November, what must communication professionals do differently this time around to ensure that the profession continues to build trust, but also serve the society effectively in the African perspective?
Thank you so much indeed, and I appreciate the contributions already made by my colleagues, which has laid the for most of what I would have said. So, but let me just say that I'm inserting here because yesterday we had a symposium on the African Declaration, which of course is on the African Responsible Communication Standards that was released during the last World Public Relations Day on the 16th of July. Just look at it. This again is part of the momentum we're building. We started with this whole issue of ethics is very central to all that we're doing. We started with the definition, which was released on the 22nd of July, 2025. And then on the 16th of July, 2026, we also have the presentation of the ARCS, which is the African Responsible Communication Standards. So you see, we started from setting the ground norm. We also moved to the continental level, and you will see that that ACRS has 8 principles, 6 institutional commitments, and 10 collective action plans. And ethics is at the heart of all this. So yes, as communication professionals, I believe we have crucial roles to play. The first thing we must do differently is to return to a principle that I believe is older than public relations itself, that communication is public trust, and that as Africans we can easily relate with. A public relations practitioner who does not appreciate the fact that in this age, you are not just to manage messages for an organization. We stand at the intersection between institutions and the people affected by the decisions of these institutions. And this is a position that carries an ethical responsibility. We must therefore move from the traditional asking of, can we communicate this, to now ask, should we communicate this? Is it truthful? Is it fair? And is it in the public interest? And for as Africans, can it contribute towards driving the most desired development? So professional competence without ethical judgment, you will agree with me, is very dangerous. Imagine a highly skilled communicator who knowingly manipulates facts. You know that such a person can cause greater damage than an incompetent communicator. This is why professional ethics cannot be treated as just a chapter in the textbook anymore, or just a code of practice for practitioners that we consult from time to time when there is a crisis. No, ethics must now become the operating system of the profession. From that NIPR definition, you will see that our perspective and the desired position of Africa, which has been articulated in the ARCS, is that there are 3 things that we must strengthen simultaneously. 1, professional standards. 2, ethical enforcement. And 3, continuous learning. The profession must become more courageous. Sometimes responsible communication requires the public relations professional to tell the principal what they do not want to hear. The real test of professional value is not whether we can make a bad story sound good. It is whether we can help the organization make better decisions before the bad stories occur. We therefore need public relations professionals who are prepared to counsel leadership, who are prepared to challenge misinformation, who can disclose things responsibly, who can correct errors promptly and place long-term credibility above short-term applause, because we are now in the age of trust economy. We must therefore recognize that accountability has since changed. In this digital age, audiences are no longer passive recipients of communication from institutions. They interrogate, they fact-check, they remix and redistribute what they receive from institutions. Trust is consequently built through consistency between what that institution says and what it does and what people experience. So really, the future of responsible public relations, as far as I'm concerned, is therefore not about perfecting messaging anymore. It's about credible behavior supported by truthful communication. And that's why you see that both for the APRA conference and for the WPRF, PRF proper, we are talking responsible communication. And you see that Africa now has set a charter, which of course we had a symposium on that yesterday, and we're now celebrating that. For once, we can now build professionalism across our member states because we now have a ground norm. We have basic principles that everybody must subscribe to. And these are driven by ethics that are culturally relevant and that are globally tested. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Without a doubt, I think responsible communication is going to be a very interesting discussion in Abuja, and I call upon all PR professionals tuning in really to join us in November and shape the narrative of African communication. I would like to recognize the presence of the president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Dr. Ike. You can say hello. Hello, Dr. Ike, are you there? Okay, and also I think the former Secretary General.
Hello. Well, I'm here. I
Good to see you,
just said,
sir.
let me quietly enjoy myself with the great and exciting commentaries. I have been enjoying myself right from the moderator to President Arik to President Irene to Chairman Dandaura. It's been an amazing time. Thank you very, very much, Ian, for
Thank
giving us a very wonderful time. It's going on
thank you,
well.
Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We look forward to joining you in November. And also, I see the former Secretary General of APRA, Professor Wole.
Hey, this is great. I really
Awesome,
enjoyed
my
the
brother. How are
conversation.
you?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
I'm
Very well,
saying this
Professor.
is beautiful, honestly. And this is what you call agenda setting. And that we are not going to Abuja without a plan, without a strategy. And I really appreciate this. Well done to all the participants, all the panelists. We're really enjoying you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor SG Emeritus of APRA there. Thank you, Professor Wole, for always supporting these master classes. I've seen my friend, Madame Rachel, my president of PR Society of Malawi. I'm a second resident in Malawi, though I come from this side of East Africa, but Malawi is my second home. Rachel, are you there? Awesome. I quickly, let me go to President Arik. We've talked about responsible communication, which comes with a huge responsibility for us as PR professionals across the continent. How do we become, in your view, how do we become strong advocates for information literacy, especially from the perspective that we have, complex communication challenges running from misinformation, disinformation, and a changing media landscape? Professor just mentioned that there is a paradigm shift for this profession. So how do we become stronger advocates in this space?
To become stronger advocates in the communication space, what we need to do is to go beyond communicating information. What we have done ever since we entered this profession is we've always been communicating information, whether it is information for your personal brand, for the organization you work for the sector, for the government. We've always been communicating information. We should now start to help the public evaluate the information. There's so much noise that is happening in the world right now and in the sphere of communication that the audiences are not able to discern what is correct and what is not correct. So, as PR people and as people who want to really advocate for change, we should help the public evaluate information. We should become critical information stewards. What does that mean? It means we have to be stewards to ensure that we are telling the credible stories ourselves. We are helping the audience to understand why these stories are credible, and we are able to help them understand how to go into a level of taking action based off credible information that we are sharing with them. We as PR practitioners, and what I think we will see in Abuja, is to be able to make everybody understand that verification should be part and parcel of everyday PR practice. Verify any information, whether it's information that is coming to you from the technical department of your organization, information that is coming to you from a credible source, information that is coming to you from your chief executive officer, information that is coming to you from the public. The first level of work that you should do is to verify this information. That should be your everyday practice. The second one is we should now move to educate audiences, not just inform them. We have informed them for years. It is time now to enter into the next realm of educating these audiences. Abuja will really help us to partner also with journalists and educators who are in different industries to be able to form information that is thematic, that is advancing the agenda of the continent, truthful information that is also going to be able to educate people, not in our individual countries, but across the entire continent. Information is power. So we are supposed to use that to educate our people so that they're able to advance the power that is in that information. And lastly, I think we as communicators, and what Abuja will do this year is that it will prepare us for serious AI-driven misinformation. Misinformation has been rampant in the last 3-4 years. But now AI has entered into the next realm. So we want to equip each and every person who's coming to this conference with the tools to prepare for AI-driven misinformation that is actually even more, looking more truthful than the truth that we give out. So if you're not part of this conversation, if you're not understanding the moving beyond communicating information to helping the public evaluate the information they're getting, at the end of the day, you're going to be doing outdated PR practice. This is a point where, as a world, we are coming together with different views, with different capabilities, and with different expertise. And we are bringing it to the African soil so that we are able to have truthful conversations in terms of how do we advance this profession. And we are not looking at it from the context of Asia, America, Europe, from the context of the books that we read. We are looking at it from our own context as Africa, our own lived experiences, our own challenges and positive growths. And we are turning all this into action plans that we can implement it. So this is one of the moments where Africa is speaking, and Africa is also speaking to the world, but also Africa is speaking to itself. And leaving Abuja will be that defining moment of living with practicable changes that you can implement, whether it's going to be small changes in your individual organizations or large changes nationally. You will definitely live with something. So for us to become stronger advocates, we just have to really move from communicating information to helping the public evaluate that information.
Wow. In the words of the president, APRA, Abuja will ask for water without a doubt. So thank you, Eric, for those words of wisdom. I agree, we need to step out of the boardroom and engage in typical grassroots education as PR professionals. Let me go to Madam Irene as we come to the second session, second round of our questions. Africa's communication landscape, and picking from what the president is saying, is dynamic like any other global landscape, without a doubt. What unique perspectives and experiences, in your view, maybe and contribution does Africa bring to the global conversation, especially in this space of public relations? Do we have anything we bring on table? And what are those perspectives that we are uniquely bringing to the global boardroom?
Thank you. I will narrow down into this specific milestone that we are driving towards as we journey towards WPRF APRA in Abuja. And this is a realization that has happened, a conversation that has happened within the African body, that we need to drive what we're calling the Africa Declaration on Responsible Communication and African Responsible Communication Standards. I think truly, as President Arik said, WPRF, or the Abuja gathering, APRA Abuja gathering this year, will be a game changer for Africa, because there's, and I would like to use this opportunity to just appeal to any associations, institutes, groupings of PR in the respective countries that have not caught up with this conversation yet, because in July, on the 16th of July, as we were commemorating World PR Day, that press release went out where we announced that we are launching the Africa Declaration on Responsible Communication. For me, I think that's a big milestone that Africa is bringing to the global conversation as we lead to the Abuja gathering. More so because in the Africa Declaration, first of all, we have acknowledged that the fact that there's strength in unison and in coming together as PR bodies and associations working across Africa, acknowledging that all of us are undertaking communication, implementing communication within different government contexts, and yet effective in our own ways. So the way Malawi runs, even neighboring as it is, will be very different from where we attain our goals, you know. And so the Africa Declaration is a beautiful piece which recognizes, as stated before, that the communication function in Africa is currently at crossroads. This in innovation, transformation is posing a challenge on how best can we still grow. Remember, a few years ago, there was a conversation where PR practitioners threatened that AI was taking over our jobs. Now there's a conversation which is brewing, and where we can actually to enhance how we deliver on our mandates as PR practitioners. This is an opportunity which is being brought to us. So in Africa Declaration, what we're basically doing is recognizing that communication is at the center of everything that we do. And for us as African society, more so, if you look at just the value of oral communication or indigenous knowledge as Africa, and how it plays a role in delivering or shaping society in our African society, is very unique from what happens in the developed world. So that in the Africa Declaration, that's a big mouse that we are taking to the global conversation. We're basically asking ourselves, let's not be fragmented, let's work. When the national bodies are strong, APRA is strong, and ultimately now continental bodies. So the Africa Declaration is being driven by Africa for Africa, and basically delivering a message that we can build trust, we can continue building respect, we can communicate and work together as a continental body.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Irene, for this wisdom shared. And I appreciate you and the panelists for continuing to shape this discussion. I would want to recognize a few people who have contributed to this discussion in the chat room. And I think I see Zone 7 Pro. Unfortunately, I can't know who this is, but let me go to Chiwe Max, Mumba, Zambia. And he says, a robust corporate communication or reputation built on trust is impossible if internal practices contradict external messaging. I think we agree without a doubt. He continues to say, as communicators, how do we enforce responsible communication and self-regulation within the C-suite itself? How can leaders effectively push back against internal pressures to spin a narrative, ensuring that the organization's fight against misinformation begins with its own radical honesty? Thank you, Max. I think that's a good contribution, especially in government agencies. The internal pressure is real to spin the truth. So how do we handle that, Professor? You will tell us in the next round of questions. And I think we have Rachel. Yes, Rachel, we recognize you. Thank you. She says this roadshow conversation is indeed timely. Thank you very much. You can continue contributing. And also will, in the short while, go into Q&A session. So if you have a question to ask this great panel, please, you could just drop it in the comment section and we'll be able to read it out shortly in the next 5 to 7 minutes. Juko Abubakali says, responsible communication should also be accorded with credible communication for better accomplishment of assignments. Well done. Thank you, Juko. Please state where you're tuning from. I know this is a global session and people are tuning from different spaces. Khadija Abubakar, please unmute, mute, so that we get a good conversation. Emmanuel Mbele, you're saying good evening to all from Wari, Delta State, Nigeria. Thank you. Dr. Topi Ojeme says, this is a great discussion. It's time for Africa to rise. But what do we do to unite and rise as one who are advancing responsible communication globally? Thank you very much, Dr. Tope Ojeme, for that contribution. And I agree with you 100%. So, Dr. Emmanuel, I hope you're still there.
Yes.
We would want to continue this conversation before we jump into the Q&A session. This responsible communication we're going to discuss in Abuja, Nigeria, between the dates of November 15th to November 21st, I think 2026, the year of the Lord. This responsible communication requires ethics, accountability, and commitment. In your view, what role has the World Public Relations Forum and APRA as a whole played to shape this development in public relations? What role have we played, especially in the perspective of the Nigeria Institute of Public Relations as well?
All right, thank you so much, Ian. It's indeed great that from the comments people are following, and it's a validation that we have chosen the right topic to engage in Abuja between 15th and 21st of November. I stated earlier that we are in the period of the trust economy. We are also at a period where we are also talking about attention economy and authenticity of these economies. You know, we are one at the national level as NIPR. We are very much aware of our role and the changing patterns in our practice environment. We are aware that truth without trust does not necessarily persuade, And trust without truth is ultimately manipulation. Our tax, which we have, the Governing Council under the leadership of Dr. Ike Neliaku, in the last 3 years plus, we set for ourselves to build the conditions under which truthful information can be trusted. So in all the programs, you see that whether it's our engagement in country, our engagement with fellow sister associations on the continent, or even globally, we are conscious of the need for us to prepare a very credible succession generation. And so we are looking at building a body of professionals who are simultaneously storytellers, strategists, who are listeners, who are analysts, who are digital practitioners, if you may call them that way. We're looking at also having professionals that are ethical counselors and interpreters of society. This is because what public relations ought to be asking now is not how to get the message out, but how do we help society make sense of what is happening. And so as an institute, we recognize our role, which is statutory, as stated in our act, to equip the public relations professionals under our purview to effectively discharge these responsibilities that the changing environment is thrusting on us as practitioners. This explains why we are continuously innovating as far as training programs within our portfolios are concerned. We have a very robust continuing professional development program, which is evolving by the day, because we're trying to respond to the changing dynamics in our practice field. Of course, our effort to provide leadership in this regard is what prompted the investment in the University of Public Relations and Leadership, which is one of the flagship projects will be inaugurated on the 20th of November as part of the activities of WPRF 2026. So we are aware that Africa needs to provide leadership. We also need to recognize our responsibilities as those who should contribute to this leadership. So as a continent, we have played a lot of, as a member of the African continent, NIPR has played a lot of role in shaping the history and direction of practice of public relations. But we recognize that leadership in contemporary Africa cannot be about one country speaking for everyone else. It must be about creating platforms where African professionals can speak to one another, learn from one another, and collectively shape the global profession. This is why we bidded for hosting of both the World Public Relations Forum and also APRA Conference 2026. And it's one of the reasons why WPRF Abuja 2026 matters so much, because Nigeria believes that Africa needs strong professional institutions. It needs harmonized ethical expectations. We also need continuous professional development so we can deepen practice and we can pay attention to these sensitive issues. We also need to have a research-driven practice and greater collaboration between professional associations and our training institutions across the countries. I'm happy that the conversations here yesterday led us to the point where we are talking about how do we leverage, how will South Africa leverage the experience of Nigeria in its processes of developing documents and structures that talks about the required skills, what we call professional standards guide in Nigeria. How can it also help countries that do not have such structured documents to evolve such documents as we support the implementation of the ARCS? So we believe that we need to also encourage greater mobility of knowledge and expertise across African borders. This is why you see a lot of energy that we are putting in to ensure that WPRF is not about one country, it's about Africa. And it's not about Africa just hosting for the sake of hosting, but Africa being able to demonstrate in this regard. So what Nigeria is doing is to recognize our role that we can only help to build bridges. We must together work towards raising the standards both at home in our nations and also building bridges across our boundaries within Africa, so that we can, as a continent, discharge our responsibilities. Because our responsibility as professionals in this discipline is to recognize that the world requires certain values that only Africa has, looking at our histories, looking at our culture. And these are the values that will help humanity to survive the negative consequences of technology and the AI incursion we're having. AI is of great help, but it has also created lots of challenges. And Africa has communication systems. Africa has structures that are community driven that we need to mainstream. Africa has greater value that we have created and we have always demonstrated in terms of human centeredness and in communication or development. So
Is that one?
we
Is that
must
the last
bring
one?
to the
Total and
table,
3.
and this is why WPRF must be seen as a response towards addressing some of these gaps that we have identified so far. It must be seen as an opportunity for everyone that is a professional on the continent to join us in ensuring that the conversation is diverse and reflects our diversity in terms of cultures, in terms of histories, in terms of experiences generally. And I must thank my colleagues on the Continental Advisory Committee, because I've seen a lot of cooperation, I've seen a lot of collaboration, I've seen a lot of desire and determination to ensure that every of the 55 member states is part of this conversation. Thank you very much indeed for also facilitating this process by hosting this particular masterclass, which the Continental Advisory Committee endorsed, and working with APRA as our continental body, as well as Irene, who represents us on the Global Alliance Regional Council, to see that we have this conversation. And it's a conversation we are willing to even cascade to various countries. We can continue with this roadshow on a country-by-country basis. And so I pray that we are not just attending this, but that the conversation I can see emanating from this, that we take it home and you continue to engage with us at the Continental Advisory Committee level, so we can deepen this conversation even ahead of Abuja 2026.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. And thank you to your committee for setting the ball rolling. Nigeria, without a doubt, has been a trailblazer in this industry of communication, and you continue to set a continental benchmark of global responsible communications. And we look forward to joining you in Abuja and having discussions that are deep in this topic. And as we wrap up the question session, I would like to have the last round as we prepare to invite the participants to ask us questions. Please, if you have a question and you would like to engage President Arik, Madam Irene, and Professor Emmanuel, drop your question into the chat room and I will be able to read it. Arik, as we close and as we look ahead to APRA 2026 in Abuja, what conversations and outcomes do you hope to that me as a practitioner, when I attend, these are some of the conversation and outcomes that will emerge out of that conference that will shape not only my profession, but also the future of responsible communications in Africa. I know earlier on you mentioned that by the time I leave Abuja, I will have a toolkit to use in my organization or in my profession. Is that so? Make it practical for me to believe that I will go with a toolkit.
Thank you, Ian. And we can ensure that when you leave Abuja, you're not only living with the toolkit, but you're living with the technical know-how that is embedded in your brain, so that you do not have to refer to a toolkit every day, but you can only refer to it when you get a clog, or when you're able to not see properly, then you can go back to the toolkit. That for sure you'll get. Um, APRA, I think, in partnership with NIPR and Global Alliance, and also in partnership with WPRF 2026, will be hosting this amazing event for 1 week. This, I think, is a defining moment to talk about what responsible communication looks like in practice, what it looks like in the context of Africa. Why do I say this? We will have conversations around trust. We will talk about how we are navigating misinformation, how we are navigating disinformation, how there's declining trust in institutions, and how can we be able to overcome this declining trust. We will have conversation about AI technology and the future of our profession. We will have a focus on media and what is it right now in the context of the world, but also what exactly is information literacy in the present context that we're in. I believe that we will leave Abuja when we are stronger and when we have set ourselves ethical guidelines for us as Africa. Now, I'm not talking of the individual countries, but for us as Africa to
Yeah.
commit to in terms of responsible communication and its principles. Abuja will be that moment where Africa doesn't simply respond to the changes that is happening in the profession, but it's that moment where we are defining our own future, which for me is one of the most important things that we are doing, to look at the future and to define it ourselves. We live in that environment where misinformation, disinformation travels quickly, and it travels across the border. You can't say that misinformation that is happening in Tanzania, for instance, is only for Tanzania context and it cannot cross the border to Burundi, to Kenya, or to Ghana. Misinformation right now is traveling quickly. So even as we believe that PR professionals have that responsibility to be credible sources of information, to challenge unethical communication practices, and to demonstrate what effective PR means, we should leave Abuja with the know-how of what this is in the context of the world we are living in right now. And we will do this in Abuja, not as a place where we are coming and we are saying awesome conversations are taking place, but as a place where we are coming and saying, after these awesome conversations, what next? How do we advance the standards and ethics? How do we capacity build several people that are in our continent that need that capacity building? How do we ensure we have peer learning and this collaboration across the borders to ensure that the practice really is strengthened across Africa? How do we have thought leadership sessions such as this that we are having right now, and to be able to inspire more people to move from PR as a management function into a leadership function? How do we, which is a conversation that we have not had, that we must have, but how do we strengthen the next generation? I want to call ourselves in this panel octogenarians. We are too old now. And we are still sitting and humming on these seats. But we are now supposed to empower and strengthen the next generation of people who are coming in. Prof is laughing, but I think he's leading in the panel, he's leading in octogenarian tactics, and he will defend himself when he's doing his closing remarks. But he's way too old. I need to see what he is doing in strengthening the next generation of the leaders. I was yesterday at the launch of Beyond Borders research that was done by a lady called Adedoyin, which I found very, very interesting in terms of young people not having access to things to enable them practice in this profession. Young people don't have access to thought leadership, to people, to structures, to thought leadership. They don't have access to all these things that we are giving. So how do we transcend leaving Abuja with that technical know-how and with strengthening the next generation to come and take over from us? Next year, it will not be us sitting on this panel. We want to see the young people now advancing and telling us how communication is shaping the world and how they are using these great new tools such as TikTok and everything to move conversations into action. So Abuja will be an amazing experience for all of us. It is one thing that I hope people are not going to miss, because if you miss this, I don't think you'll ever get any other opportunity to have this learning within the continent. And we are making it easier for people across the continent to be able to attend. So whether you're from Francophone Africa, Anglophone Africa, from wherever you are, we are making it easy for you to attend through reduced fees, the conference fees. We are making it easy for you to attend through translation services. If you speak French, je parle un peu français, we can be able to translate here and there for you. If you speak Spanish, if you speak whatever you're speaking, Arabic, we are making it easier because our conversation in this context of Africa is extremely important. I'll stop here. I have so much to talk about, but I'll stop here and then pass it on to maybe to you to invite the chief octogenarian to tell us what he plans to do for the future of young people. I hope he's not planning to stay in power for over 40 years. He looks like, when I was speaking to him in Kaduna, he looked like he wanted to clinch power until he's 109 years. So if he does do that, I will go and picket in Abuja until we evict him. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. Thank you, President Arik. Thank you for painting the picture very clearly that by the end of the Abuja session of that week, we'll be in Abuja. I think it is clear that we have an established global continental-wide actionable framework for us to go back home and implement without a doubt. And speaking of APRA and Abuja, but we also have the World Peer Forum in the same week. When I was growing up, Madam Irene, we used to have a game. It's not a game, it's a hunt. Professor, I don't know if in Nigeria you have it. We used to call it tapida. You have you put a stone and you release and then it hits a bird.
Catapult.
It's called what?
That's catapult, right?
Catapult. Right. So I believe in Abuja, we are going to use catapult to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. And the one who hits 2 birds with 1 stone is really a lucky one and a champion. So, Madam Irene, I'm told that we're going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. APRA 2026, World Peer Forum 2026 in the same room. How does this work out? What outcomes do we look forward to having in terms of the discussions of having the world and Africa meeting in one space?
Thank you. You know, at the beginning of this meeting, I thought you were going to have to deal with bilateral issues between Uganda and Kenya, but now it looks like your mandate is much wider since Arik decided to remind us that we are very old. Thank you, Arik, for that reminder. We agree. So, you know, this is a wonderful opportunity and truly, remember that this is only the 2nd time that Africa is hosting the World PR Forum. You know, last was hosted by South Africa many years ago, 2007, and we've consistently said Nigeria is just a lead. This is Africa hosting the global PR community in Nigeria. So the beauty about this year is that, remember that APRA, as an APRA community, we have our annual conference. And this year, APRA and Global Alliance were able to converse and agree that we hold the two events back to back. So in this one place this year, instead of traveling to a different location for APRA, as tradition would be, and a different destination for WPRF, the two events are being held in Abuja back to back. And that's why earlier Prof was referring to Africa Day. So, and this program is being coordinated very closely in collaboration with the APRA team. And I just want to assure all the distinguished members that are here that when we have a tentative one ready to share with the membership of APRA, that program will actually be availed. But what we're doing with WPRF is that, and the APRA coming together, is that it's a very well-coordinated program where each day will have a specific theme designated to make sure that the needs of the different delegates that are coming to WPRF APRA are made. We have a day dedicated to discussing issues of research, where the academicians will lead the conversation on some of the research areas that need to be done. And you will agree with me that perhaps one of our challenges in Africa is that we have so much going on, but who's documenting it? There's innovation going on. Who is telling the Africa story? Some of it needs to manifest in the form of research. So we have a day dedicated to the academicians and researchers coming together, you know, and also we'll have a day, Africa Day, as we were told, where Africa itself decides this is how we want to celebrate our Africanism on that particular day. We'll have a day, obviously, because it's World PR Forum, where we'll have different dignitaries coming in to launch WPRF, to officially keynote addresses from very high level, hosted by the host president himself of Nigeria. We have not forgotten the young people as well. Eric was challenging us and reminding us that we are old. For that reason, and in fact, APRA also does it. In the APRA tradition, there's always been a youth symposium held as part of APRA. So that setup, it's still being left, being a provision is still being made to bring young people together. In fact, we want to use this opportunity to just appeal to the association on bodies. If you are unfamiliar with the youth package, there's a very, very reasonable package for students and youth to participate in WPRF and APRA this year. So if we're unfamiliar with those rates, please get in touch with the WPRF lead team, or even
Madam Irene, are you still there? Prof, can you get Madam Irene, or it is on my side?
No, our system is frozen.
Okay, I think she had made her points really, and she had reached a point where we need to have you now coming as the old wine, because I think she had talked about a conversation around the young people. Do you think, just like President Eric said, APRA or Abuja 2026 is going to be a launch pad of the young people? Should they look forward to great mentorship? How is it going to shape out?
Okay, thank you very much. If we were
Speak
not
to
in
the young
Africa,
person.
if we were not in Africa, I would have protested. But since Africa, age is associated with wisdom, I will take it as a compliment. You know. So I'm happy that Lebogang Sekobwane is here with us. She is one of those who managed the event we had yesterday. The issue of mentorship is one area we spoke about. It's also one area that we are looking forward to collaboration with South Africa to support the work they are doing. The symposium was co-hosted by SETA, and SETA is interested in the issues of skill acquisition, particularly in this area. And we reminded them that NIPR has a very robust program for young professionals. You would also see that in the regime of fees, we are very generous. And there are two different categories that a young professional can come in. In fact, three, including online. You can have everything about the two programs we're talking about that are running simultaneously for a fee if you're a student that every student can afford. Now, what do we expect from the young people? These are, for us in Nigeria, when we say young professionals, we're looking at anybody from 35 and below. And when you look at even the participants from in the house today, I can identify about 4 or 5 of our members of our young professionals hub. And we normally prioritize them in every event. I'm happy too that South Africa is keen along that direction, because one of the things we were able to get today is that we have a sponsor who is sponsoring 5 university undergraduates to come to Abuja. And we have relied also on the structure NIPR as host has put on ground to see that we extend to them 1 free slot in terms of registration for the 6 candidates. So we want to make this available also to every member country, every member of the CAC, that if you can sponsor 5 young people, we would pay for the 6th person in terms of the registration fee, so that we have more opportunities for our youth. We know that our young professionals, and Africa indeed has the highest number of young people. The median age in Nigeria is about 2021. And that means that by 2030, we will have a lot more of these young people driving virtually every seat available in our public spheres. So I want to tell the young professionals here, and to also take it home to our members across Africa, that WPRF is not an event to attend. It is a professional opportunity every young person must seize. The greatest value that this international forum will provide to young people is not just the photographs you will take from the conference. It's a relationship you will build, the ideas you will exchange, the mentors you will encounter, the questions you ask, and the possibilities that emerge after us. We are very deliberate in this regard. So we encourage young African professionals to come to Abuja. Indeed, if it were possible, we would insist that for every 2 adults that are coming from any member country, we should have at least 1 young person. So we encourage them to come with intellectual curiosity, because they are the most innovative. We encourage them to come also with professional confidence. They shouldn't just come to listen to established voices like Arik and Irene and those of us that are very young at heart. They should come prepared to also own their voice, because the future of our profession will not be shaped by professionals who are not able to understand what the Gen Zs understand. The Gen Zs are able to combine technology with humanity. They know what it means to combine data with judgment. They know what it means to combine creativity with ethics. And they also know that generally, global knowledge must be anchored on local understanding. These are the realities and the values that we believe young people will get from WPRF coming here. I see personally that there are 5 capabilities that young people coming will really derive. And I say this as one who has dedicated 37 years of my life training young people at the university level. First, they must, if they come at all, they would have mastered some of those fundamentals. They would understand how technology is changing our practice rapidly. They will understand better how credibility is built. They will understand how to write, how to research, how to operationalize strategic thinking. They will also learn how to listen actively and how to build relationships, because these are the fundamentals of the practice of public relations. They will also understand that technological fluency without becoming technologically dependent is a problem. So learning AI, learning data analytics is not just enough, but we must anchor it on our culture so that we do not outsource professional judgment to an algorithm. The third thing I see young people gaining from participating is that they will learn how to develop a distinctively African professional identity. They will have better understanding of Africa. They will know our histories. They will know our cultures. They will know our languages and institutions and social realities. Because we are not just celebrating knowledge at WPRF and Africa Day. We are also going to be celebrating our cultures, our dances, our music, our cuisine. I'll come to that shortly before I conclude. The fourth thing I see them deriving is relationships, building relationships across borders. This is the infrastructure that will help Africa to leapfrog, building relationships across, understanding mobility of knowledge, understanding mobility of ideas and all that. So APRA Conference 2026 and WPRF will create an extremely exciting opportunities, a bundle of opportunities to develop genuinely continental and globally professional network. The professional relationship that will be established in Abuja will become the partnership, the research collaboration, the consultancy opportunities, and institutional initiatives of tomorrow. So I see, and that is my message to the young ones, is therefore that they should not just prepare to inherit the profession. They should come to be equipped so they can actually define it. Because at the WPRF Abuja 2026, we see it as a place where Africa's emerging communication leaders will meet the world. We also see it as a place where the world will encounter a new generation of African communication professionals who are confident in their identity, who are rigorous in their thinking, who are technologically capable, who are ethically grounded and determined to make communication a force for social good. If we get that right, the greatest legacy that Abuja will bequeath to humanity is not just the conference itself. It will be the professional community, the ideas, the partnerships, and the new generation of leaders that will emerge from it. Let me say as I conclude that WPRF Abuja 2026 is not just about talk. There's a lot of excitement. We're going to open with the polo and golf tournament in a very relaxing and picturesque environment. We are also going to have what we call Experience Africa Zone, where on a daily basis, after the business of the day, you can go and relax, listen to African music, watch our performances, eat our food from various communities in Africa. And so we invite members of CAC to see how they can organize, either by linking up with their embassies or arranging for vendors who have chains that prepare their local dishes to also come and exhibit at our Experience African Zone. We're going to have those musicians that are available to us that are also making waves across Africa. Yesterday, I was also telling a colleague who wore a beautiful dress to say that we're going to have what we call the 8-hour tailors. So the fabrics, African fabrics will be there, Nigerian fabrics will be there. You will choose. Tailors will be on ground. Whatever design you can imagine, they will realize it for you. So you can dress in the colors, especially that we expect that APRA will live up to the expectation of hosting its awards, which has been scheduled as part of the Africa Day. So we can dress African for that very day. Now, to tell you that I am probably investing more in the younger people than Arik, I serve as chairman, by the grace of God, of the Project Implementation Committee of the University of Public Relations and Leadership. We are also going to have our Global Youth Summit there. That is huge investment that NIPR has done, and it is supported in that process by APRA and also Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communications Management. So this is a project for the young people. This is a platform we're giving them. On the whole of the 20th of November is dedicated to hearing the youth speak to us and also listening to their visions and seeing how we can support them. We also are expecting quite a number of African presidents And this is also where the CAC members are working hard to see that we extend invitation. At the moment, we have 3 that have confirmed. We believe that in the next few weeks, that number will increase. So we're going to have our presidents here. So they will not only listen to us talk, they will speak to us, but they will listen to our young people so they can understand the vision of our young people. The Minister of Information in Nigeria is also looking towards inviting his colleagues to join to have a roundtable of ministers of African countries so that they can also understand how we can mainstream responsible communication in our various countries as far as management of communication is concerned. What is exciting for me is that we have the NIPR definition, which has set the vision, which now has been adopted and given expression to in the African Responsible Communication Standards, which is now a continental document. But Global Alliance has also decided that we're going to have Abuja Declaration. So what better way can we say than to ensure that every one of us is part of history? There's a lot of history that will be made in Abuja, and you will certainly, in the next 20, 30 years, be biting your fingers if you don't take advantage of the opportunity to come. Let us create this history together. And the young people have 70% of my invitation to be in Abuja. We have daily opportunities. You can also see that even now for the pre-events, the National Planning Committee of WPRF Abuja 2026 has introduced some 3 contests for young people, exclusively for young people. And they are winning lots of prizes from these competitions. They also have put in place infrastructure for lots of WPRF events, knowledge conferences like this, where they will talk to themselves, where they will also interact with us. So there's a lot that we're doing by way of investment in the young people. We believe that Africa cannot grow without investment in the young people, and they are the people we are rooting for generally. They are the reason why we bid it to host APRA 2026 and WPRF 2026. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
Thank you, Professor, without a doubt, and thank you for inviting the young people to Abuja 2026. From your conversation, there's no doubt that this is going to be the ultimate launchpad of the next 50 years, and who else is to shape the next 50 years apart from the young practitioners that we have on this call. So the young person out there, come and meet the global titans like Dr. Professor Network. They say your network is your net worth. So let's go be mentored. Let's showcase what we have in our countries, but also participate in this conversation as we shape the future of responsible communication. So as I wrap up and also we go into the Q&A session, first of all, I want to thank you. Thank you, Professor. Emmanuel Dandaula. That name is a typical African name, Dandaula. And even when you pronounce it, you
It is not Dandarua as the East Africans would say. Because it has a different meaning.
Ask President Arik to pronounce it. Dandaura.
Yes.
Yes, and of course, thank you, Madam Irene Lungu. I don't know how the presidential elections are shaping out, but we are praying for you and we wish you all the best. Thank you, President Arik Karan, for sharing your time and knowledge and experience with us. As we come to the end, we want to pick a few questions for you in the chat room. There's Basil from Lagos, Nigeria, is asking, as communication managers, how do we transform responsible communication to align with responsible actions in the African continent? The actual doing. Actual doing. So I believe Professor will help us with that one from Basil. As communication managers, how do we transform responsible communication to align with responsible actions in African continent, the actual doing? And of course, Ahmed Sanja is saying building bridges becomes imperative for all of us Africans, because no matter the progress made in technology, our humanity is the greatest value we have as human beings. So we appreciate you for that contribution, my brother Ahmed. Fauzia Nasil, as we look towards World PRF 2026, what would be responsible communication look like in practice? And how can we measure its impact in African society? I think that goes with the first question, Professor. It's the same, really. You will be able to address that. We must keep challenging our members, that is Peter Onyene, to embrace the concept of ethical and responsible communication in all they do through training, webinars. Thank you, APRA, for this. It will help project PR positively among our stakeholders. Abuja, Nigeria there. And Ojuko Abubeka, how can PR practitioners balance the interest of their clients, organization, with the public's right to accurate and truthful information? I think we answered that. And this recording is going also to be shared if you missed it. Can communication be factually accurate yet still be misleading? And how should a PR practitioner navigate that tension while balancing ethics, law, culture, individual interest, and historical context? I don't know, President Arik, you help us with this one. Oluk Dorcas is saying, can communication be factually accurate yet still be misleading? And how should a PR practitioner navigate that tension while balancing ethics, law, culture, individual interests, and historical context? We need PR professionals who can identify and correct errors promptly. Without a doubt, thank you for that contribution. Juko again, yes, thank you. We see the contribution. Ahmed Sanjo, essentially, I think what we have should be sincere appreciation to the panelists. It's been really great as an agenda setting function to the platform. The platform has fulfilled its role. Thank you, respected panelists. So I think you have it there, your flowers, Arik, Irene, and Professor, those are your flowers. Is inter-country, and this is Nicole Kamwendo from Malawi, is inter-country accountability in PR a viable reality of wishing or wishful thinking when there are instances of misinformation? Madam Irene, you can help us with that. Is inter-country accountability in PR a viable reality or wishful thinking when there are instances of misinformation? That is Nicole from Malawi. And then you have communication for sustainable development. Is Ngoma, the impact storytelling. Yes, thank you for that contribution. Babs Abolarini, warm greetings and a big thank you to the panelists. My question is brown envelope syndrome a journalist's, media, or PR problem? And what would it take for agencies to actually stop paying, especially a highly commercialized media space in Nigeria? Professor Daundura, please. I am Babs Abolarini, Nigeria. Answer me. Professor, this you on the spot. I don't know the brown envelope syndrome in Nigeria. You can tell us more of that story, but that's your question. Arik, great insights. Otonya Davis, PhD, FNIPR. Okay. Then Juko, the engagement is really worthy being attended to. Good stuff. Then Lababong, greeting from South Africa. Can't wait to be part of the monumental shift happening in Abuja. We can't wait to welcome you as well. This session has made me promise myself that I won't miss Abuja this November. Unfortunately, I can't get, Salma from Tanzania. Thank you, Salma, Devan Communications. Thank you for this incredible professional capacity building opportunity. I'm truly inspired. That is Salima from Tanzania as well. Ian, we save two birds with one stone. We don't hit birds. We love nature. Godfrey, thank you, Godfrey, for that correction. Shout out to moderator as well. Great brother. Okay, Professor Wole, great conversations all over the world. There is a concern that younger students, high school level, do not know how much or they not know about public relations as a profession. It is therefore up to us to deliberately ensure these programs are designed to engage and catch them as still young as they are. Excellent panelists and participants. Thank you, Professor, for that. Ahmed says, old wine is more expensive. This is for you, Professor, to encourage you that old wine is more expensive. Age and experience are never in the market, but the NIPR Young Professionals Hub aims to mentor the young and bridge the generation gap. Thank you, Ahmed, for that contribution. And of course, I think we have another contribution here, which probably would be last. Then we go into the questions. To Professor Otonye says, to place the profession on the pedestal, we must do more about ethics as individuals in our practice. We must be bold to call out situations where we see non-ethical conducts within our institute at all levels, at work, in the associations where we belong, and political organization where we belong and associate with. Thank you for that contribution, Otonye Davies from Nigeria. Okay, I think we had one question each. The questions still come in and contribution. I think because of time, we may not go into more questions, but most of them are contributions really. We'll compile them and share them on the APRA platform. Professor, let me start with you. The question that was asked.
Yes,
and then we'll move to Madam Irene and then Eric.
I must thank my colleagues on the call for being good participants, because this feedback shows that we've not been talking to ourselves. You know, I can see Fozia's question, which is the one talking of how do we translate it. Well, basically, there are many ways we can do that. And this is why I started by telling you that one of the frameworks that Africa has now adopted is the ARCS, Africa Responsible Communication Standards. I told you it has 8 principles. You know, it also has 6 institutional commitments and 10 collective action plans. You know, now the principles there, they form the ethical and professional foundation, how we can operationalize responsible communication across Africa. The 6 institutional commitments move these responsibilities beyond the individual practitioner to the professional associations and institutions that govern and shape the profession. Then the 10-point action plans are actually the implementation mechanisms with accountable leads across signatory communities. You know, so we have not, it's more like an action plan. You know, it has articulated the African position. It also has stated the responsibilities of each of the parties that will make responsible communication a reality, and told each stakeholder what he needs to do. You know, so it's significant that we recognize our role so that the African Responsible Communicator Standards can now be turned from statements of ideas into visible and verifiable professional credentials. So as a professional, there is a role that is expected of you, because your active membership and subscribing to the ethical codes is one way we can make responsible communication become a lived reality in our day-to-day existence. You know, so there are 7 concrete commitments, for instance, you can make as a professional. One of it is that you should know that truth is what is more important than image. Don't fall in the temptation of going after managing image. Pursue truth. That way, you are given legs to responsible communication. The second thing is you should understand that context must come before content. You know, we are not communicating in vacuum. We have our languages, we have our culture, religion, ethnicity, traditional authority, local knowledge, history, and all that. You know, so the question is, what are we trying to say? Does it take upon our identity? Does it take up upon our reality? You know, that's what I mean by context before content. Then we must understand that people must also come before platforms. And this is very important because your job is to communicate with people. So you are not communicating to people. And if you're communicating with people, then do not see communities as just audiences. They should be participants in defining problems, in shaping messages, and evaluating solutions. That is basically my experience as a development communication expert, that we learn to work with people, and that will lead to the ownership of this whole concept of responsible communication. So we should drive towards participation, not persuasion, in all that we do. Then development must take the place of publicity, as described and clearly expressed in the NIPR definition of public relations. Communication must help citizens to understand how to participate, how to benefit from development initiatives, and how to even initiate such, and also how to hold institutions accountable. The 6 out of the 7 I will advise you consider is to know that technology must have the human face. Technology should never and can never take the place of humanity. And the last thing is that African agency must understand that packaging, we are no longer in the age of packaging. We are in the process of defining African voice and mainstreaming it. That, to me, is a useful guide. And you can summarize that by, in all your activity, ask yourself, what I'm about to do, is it the truth? Is it contextual? Is it inclusive? Does it serve the public interest? Will it build trust rather than merely generate attention? If you can mainstream this into all that you do, then I can assure you that responsible communication will not just be a cliche or buzzword in Africa, but it will be culturally grounded, it will be participatory, it will lead to inclusive and accountable governance. Then some other participant here, sorry I didn't write the name, talked about how do we measure the impact of responsible communication. It means that the measuring standards have to change, because the biggest mistake we make is to measure responsible communication from the perspective of reach, impression, media mentions, or likes alone. Those measures, they just talk about exposure. Responsible communication should be measured by what changed because we communicated responsibly. And I will propose 5, what I may call the 5 R's. That's a proposal as a framework I provided in one of my presentations a few months back. That the dimension we should be looking at now, number 1 is the reach. What should we measure on this regard? We should ask ourselves, did the right people receive the message? What are the indicators in this case? We're looking at audience penetration, inclusion of marginalized groups, language accessibility, and rural-urban reach. So that's the first level of measuring the impact of responsible communication. The second R is reception. Did people understand it correctly? What are we looking at here? What is the level of comprehension? How do they recall the messages? What is the misinformation levels as compared to getting the accurate information you intended to communicate? And then how clarity was the message received? The third R is response. Did people engage, or did they just act upon your communication? And here you're looking at how did they participate? What kind of inquiries came from them? What kind of feedback came from them? Was there any behavioral change? Were there uptakes of some of the programs that your responsible communication tries to push? The fourth R is relationship. Did communication strengthen trust? And here you're looking at trust scores, you're looking at credibility, you're looking at confidence in institutions, you're looking at stakeholder satisfaction. These are the things you measure. And the last R is results. In other words, did communication continue to meaningfully impact and deliver public value? What is the policy acceptance? Is there any conflict reduction that your communication has brought? Are there service uptakes? Are there community outcomes? Are there institutional accountability that your communication has mainstream? So these are the 6 R's that you will use to test responsibility. So again, you might want to ask yourself basic questions like, did I tell the truth in my responsible communication? Did we avoid communication? Manipulation? Did we respect culture and dignity? Did we give affected people a voice? Did we protect privacy of vulnerable groups? Did we correct misinformation when we got something wrong? This is what we provide our responsible communication, not just legs, but being able to measure from time to time. Because responsible communication for me, in terms of impact, has an equation. That is a combination of reach with understanding, with participation, with trust, with behavior plus public value delivered, as well as ethical integrity. Now, the last question I think you asked me to respond to is, I think the idea of what is it now?
Brown envelope.
Brown envelope, yes. Brown envelope, I don't know how universal that is, but it's the practice in journalism where you expect that when you call journalists, you give them a package, which often is money, which will help them to remember to do the job for which you invited them to come and do. That is unethical, even for journalism, not to talk about public relations, because any man that takes to brown envelope is one that is looking for a shortcut. It's one that is not strategic in his engagement. Our people have a proverb, which I always return to, that you make friends with the canoe owner during the dry season, so that when the rain starts falling, you'll be the first person to cross the river. So if you have not been managing relationships, then you'll be tempted to use financial inducement to get the journalists to do what you expect of them to do to support your activity. It is not a public relations function. That is why deliberately and as a policy, as an institute, we do not even like using the acronym PR, because in Nigeria, it has also been given different coloration. That PR in this case, because of the brown envelope syndrome, means pocket relations. So we rather want you to say public relations and not PR. So we do not subscribe to a brown envelope, and we are also happy to prosecute such a professional when we get a report through our ethics and disciplinary committee, whether the envelope is brown, white, red, or green. It simply tells us that you are not applying the public relations principles, you are going for shortcuts. So it must never be had amongst us. Make friends in good time, maintain relationships, and they will do that which you expect them to provide by way of support to your activities. It will come seamlessly. Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute again.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay credible, build meaningful relationships. Thank you, Professor. Madam Irene, as we close.
Thank you. I will try and be very brief in the interest of time, and I'll try and quickly respond to the question that came from Nicole, asking whether intercountry accountability in PRA is a viable reality or wishful thinking. I would say yes. I would say yes. First of all, very briefly to state that if you look at the efforts that APRA has put together in the last few years or previously, it is to bring us together as a continent, and everything else that we do, whether it is Global Alliance, the Regional Council, and at global level, really consolidates the efforts to get together and to collaborate. And you can't take away the fact that there is strength in numbers and in collaboration. Just to speak for Zambia, for the Zambia Institute of Public Relations and Communication, we were able to tap on the experience of Nigeria as we ran the journey towards getting legislated as a professional body. So there's a lot to learn from each other. But I think very critical is that all this inter-country collaboration and efforts that are going on does not take away the sovereign nature that we stand as national associations, as countries. So at the end of the day, whether it is Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, we are responsible for being able to account for whether our PRA practitioners or experts are providing value for or action to what we are talking about as individuals, as associations. So the sovereignty of the country or the national body is not taken away, but the collaboration must be enhanced. In fact, if we look at the bigger picture that APRA is trying to put on the table for strengthening regional collaboration and feeding into the continental body, it just demonstrates the fact that there's a lot we can learn from each other, whether it is encouraging our members to do joint CPDs, joint research, working together, learning from each other, benchmarking. So there's a lot that we can do together. And I just want to use this opportunity in closing to just appeal. And I know that through President Arik will be driving that agenda for countries that are not yet familiar with the Africa Declaration. This is a call for Africa to rally together on the journey to WPRF. Get in touch with us, get in touch even with APRA on how you can be part of this journey. Thank you very much. So yes, it can be a reality. It is doable. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Irene. Arik?
Yes. Can communication be factually accurate yet still be misleading? Yes, it can be. And I'll give one example. When you hear someone saying Africa is a continent that has conflict, Africa is a continent that is not developed, are those statements true? Yes, they're true. But are they factual and are they misleading? Yes. Why are they misleading? Because you're looking at Africa in the context of one lens. You're not looking at Africa in the context of, yes, it has conflict, but it's not all parts of Africa. It's not all the time. There are different regions. There are different reasons why conflict is there. And so it's our job to be able to not only present or debunk such misleading, factually accurate information, but also to present our continent in a way that people respect us. I always say that social media is a great tool. It came in, it's wonderful, it's connecting us, it's giving us real-time communication. But the people who have misused it the most is Africans. We have this idea that for everything that is going wrong in our lives and in our countries, the first therapist that you will go to speak to will be Facebook, will be Instagram will be TikTok. You will go, you will demonize the entire government. You'll say, oh, this Nigerian government has not done anything. They are full of corrupt people. This Kenyan government is doing this and that. This Zambian government is doing this and that. Tanzania government is doing this and that. We paint our countries and our regions so badly that when the algorithms, when people are searching for information about Africa through AI, through some of these platforms that are there, the algorithm is picking the negativity that we have put out there and is summarizing it for the other context and people from outside the continent to understand your continent. So the summary that is there is very demonizing to us as Africans. So why can't we, even as much as we are complaining about improper governance, democracy issues, conflict and instability, why can't we also in the same breath put across the excellent things that are happening across the continent, the industries that are being revived, the opportunities that are there, from the Silicon Savannah to the savannah that is actually in Africa that is technologically driven. Why can't we talk about the airports and how we are expanding travel across the continent? We are not there yet. It's still expensive to fly across different countries within Africa. But do we have developments in the aviation sector? We do. Do we have developments in the health sector? We do. Do we have developments in the water sector? Are people now going into toilets that are working, flashing, and everything is going into a system where it is recycling the system and the water is going back to the rivers clean? There is. So when you look at all the sectors of where Africa is dealing with and where we have come from for the last 20 years, we have advanced. Yet we are the first ones to really demonize our own continent to the extent that when people outside are talking about Africa being a dark continent, we want to start complaining. We cannot complain, yet we are the ones who have put this notion of what Africa is and of the failed system and of the lack of advancing. We have put it out there for those people to read and for them to repeat it. Change has to start from us. So can communication be factually accurate and be misleading? Absolutely. Are we helping that? Yes, we are. Are we doing more to reduce the notion that we as a continent are backward? No, we are not. We are not doing more. We are literally sitting and letting the narrative of Africa be told, be explained by people who are disgruntled, who are frustrated, and be repeated by people who have a following and who are looking for clicks and likes. So what Abuja means is we have to balance what we are talking about and what we are putting in these social media platforms. Because what you're putting today is actually being used by artificial intelligence for summaries for other people. We have to be that change we want the world to see in us. The world will only see what we are presenting to them. They will only believe what we are presenting to them. Do we have a role? We do. Are we doing it? We are not. Why are we not doing it? Let's have that conversation in Abuja. I'll stop here and invite our SG to wrap it up in terms of our roadmap as APRA. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Dr. Omuni, over to you.
Okay. I thank you so much, Mr. President. Well, I guess that Ian doesn't want Ugandans to see me, but that's fine. I mean, because I'm wondering why you decide to keep my face away. I mean, and I know that
Reigns, please
Ugandans are fond of appreciating
before
people.
We are cast by the SG, please enable his video immediately.
Because I know that Ugandans appreciate salt and pepper a lot. I mean, you don't find young man with hoary headedness like this. All right, so thank you so much. That's okay. Oh no, that's okay. I mean, I'm just kidding.
The permission is on.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President Ari Karani. Our very own Professor Dandaura, you have become our ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary because you have been moving across the continent, selling the message of why people should be in Abuja. And of course, my sister Irene, thank you for all you have done. Between yesterday and today, we have done so much together from both hybrid and what otherwise. And thank you so much for good moderation. Let me just say this, Ian. Along the line that all the speakers have spoken, you see, I'll bring a context and I'm going to be brief and connect them. If you see the narrative that is going on now, the most recent voice bring that of Professor Jeffrey Sachs. They are looking at Africa as a single market. That, look, we cannot go individually as 55 countries within a union. Giving an example of how Europe has tried to avoid going disparately, okay? And then, so if you want to do that, it then means that we must speak with one voice. 1.5 billion people in Africa already, which is talking like India or China, okay? So Africa has made some moves, okay? And you will look at Agenda 2063 of the AU, you will look at that agenda, you see that it resonates with the SDGs. If you come back to Nigeria, you see that it speaks to the priority areas of the Nigerian administration. If you go to East Africa, you will see all those things. Now, all of us agree that you cannot do anything without communication, because that is the currency, that is the fuel that sells what you want to do. This is our understanding 2 years ago when we were elected in Abidjan, and we're happy that we have been re-elected in Namibia, okay? And we feel that, yes, we have 55 countries, we have one voice. Under the leadership of President Karani, our interest is to ensure that we expand the messaging, okay? We expand the messaging so that we don't go individually. Professor Dandara made reference to the ARC document where APRA is also playing a good role. We want a situation where people come around and have a template and see how you can adapt it to specific country needs, but with the same substance and the same goal. That is why the African Declaration will make sense. And look at what APRA has done. What you'll be seeing in Abuja at the 37th conference of APRA and the WPRF is going to be the largest inclusive forum of Africans in one single room. I'm talking in terms of historically from APRA. And I say this with respect to our leaders, because when we were elected, they told us to do better than they have done. And I'm happy that I have our leaders and mentors here to let them know that, look, the expansion that we have done, you know, in the constitutionally and in terms of our activities, is to speak to the meaning of communication as what? As a cooperative venture. So what you will be seeing in Abuja is the number of attendants from African countries in a way you have never seen it before. So the core people that will populate that are people that are coming from Africa, so that we are able to receive the world well. And APRA has been given the mandate to expand on its governance. In Namibia, we were given the marching order to even expand the executive council and bring in regional coordinators. We have divided Africa into 6 regions. And at Abuja, each region will elect its representative to ensure that every country in each region has befitting PR institutions that are able to have the kind of achievements that you are seeing in Nigeria, in Zambia, in Kenya, in Ghana. So this is what APRA is bringing on board. That collaboration, that inclusiveness, that expansion of the democratic space to ensure that what we are doing, we are not just speaking to few individuals. Everybody has to go along together, because in the final analysis, even if 54 countries and territories decide to speak with one voice, the remaining one, if that one speaks in a different voice, it goes back to what my president has said, Karani, saying that, look, it won't be appropriate for us to put out there the wrong things about us rather than what is good. 54 people bring out good things, one person bring out bad things. AI will still pick that bad thing and restore it to people who will be using those data as insight and judgment about Africa. So this is the role that APRA is playing in terms of galvanizing, rallying people, you know, in a way that you have never seen before, to speak precisely to what Professor Dandara, Irene, and President Karani have been talking about. So what you will see in Abuja is an adoption of the African Declaration in the context you have never seen it before, because that document will be circulated by APRA to all its affiliates and ensure that people get the message and they are able to adapt it. This is the sense in which the African Continental Free Trade Agreement will even make sense, because both the question of attention, both the question of trust have become economic frameworks to reference Professor Daura. So everything we are doing will make sense if we get the communication right. And that is why we are trying to restore standards that we should follow and see we can tweak it according to national priorities, but Africa must go together with one voice. And one thing that I need to emphasize, and I've been impressed by the kind of response we have gotten from young people on this call, the fact that our young people are willing and ready to take leadership. Okay? It's so important. I joined APRA when Professor Adamalekun was Secretary General. Now I've been asked to serve as he's one of his successors. I mean, we are ready to hand over to people, but people have to be groomed so that they can step in appropriately. And one thing that we must use Abuja to do is to get everybody coming from each country in Africa to make sure that where young people cannot attend physically, they are able to connect to the online program in a manner in which they also form their own network behind and begin to look at what APRA will look like in 20 years. Do you get the point? That collaboration, that cooperation, that networking is important. So they are coming to have that connection, but they are also coming to learn what the new lesson is in terms of using communication as a tool for development in Africa. So this is the point in which I really want to also just appreciate what has happened here. Today alone, I'm featuring in the 4th event, and President Dara is facing the same thing, President Karani, Irene, the same thing. Yesterday, we were all over the place. I have seen the president at 2 events today, the president of NIPR, and I saw him also here again. He's driving me. In fact, I don't know whether I can catch up with his speed, but I'm trying. So if we have young people also around watching us and trying to allow us to glean lessons from what we are doing, and they are nudged to take over leadership, we will be very happy and proud. And one thing we would love to see is to see how every country in Africa can replicate what is happening in Nigeria, what is happening in Kenya, what is happening in Zambia, what is happening in Ghana, what is happening in Uganda, okay? So that we are able to have a very fantastic conversation and be on the same page. And when we see something that is inappropriate, we can point it out. So this is the point I think we need to iterate repeatedly without overflogging the issue. I'd like to stop here and to thank everybody who's been part of this process. At a point, I checked the participants on this call. We were over 130. Over 130. In the last 1 week, this is the 11th web online event that I have attended. This is the one where I have seen the largest participants. It shows commitment, and I want to thank everybody, both panelists and those who have stayed with us. If you look at the chat, you will see conversations. It shows that people are listening. This is an achievement, and I think we should clap for ourselves. It's amazing. I'd like to stop there. Thank you, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Omonyi, there for the strong action, call to action, but also a special vote of thanks to our panelists. We appreciate you, Professor Emmanuel. Thank you very much, Madam Irene Lungu and President Karani, for sharing wisdom and knowledge this evening. Without a doubt, on behalf of PRF Fundi, I would like to appreciate a lady called Veronica. I don't know if she's there. She works behind the scenes to make sure this is successful, but also appreciate Rains Kwesiga on our behalf, who also works with Veronica to make sure that it is a success. So as we close, let us remember that this is only the beginning. We look forward to continuing this conversation, Dr. Omonyi in Abuja. We can't wait, we are coming. And we remind you that Abuja is between the 15th of November to 21st November. So be a part of it and have a wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ian, before you shut us off,
Okay.
just asking for the APRA team, President Arik, before you disappear, Dr. Omnia, just if we could just use 5 minutes of your time. Thank you, everybody else. SG, APRA team with Professor Dandara, you can stay in because you need to do bilateral reconciliation here, Ian, if you would like.
Okay,
5
please.
minutes. Thank you, since everybody's already on this call.
Maybe
Just
we'll
the
do a
APRA team.
WhatsApp. Do we do a WhatsApp call now?
Okay,
Because
so thanks. Can we shift the conversation to a WhatsApp call? Prof, are you going to do a WhatsApp call? Okay, thank you, Ian, and everybody else. Good night.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Madam
Thank
Irene.
you.
Thank you for that guidance.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, participants. Thank you
Well
for tuning
done,
in.
Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Prof.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, bye,
Yes.
Arunga.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
I
Bye.
welcome
Thank you.
members of
Bye.
the College of
Thank you.
MCs.
Bye.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming in
so
large
much.
numbers.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you. It's a
you.
privilege.
And
Thank you,
council
Taco
members.
Abdullah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samila. Thank you, Jaja Mesach. Thank you, John Sunday. I see you. Bye. Abiele. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Fioma. Thank you, Juko Abdallah. Thank you, Janet Ebu.
Thank you and good.
Thank you, Noroa. Thank you to Walanda. Thank you, Patience Shagime. Thank you. Thank you, Henrietta Yakuba. Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you. Chakumweke Njegulu, Malawi, I think. Thank you. Toyosi Aliwola Bakari. Thank you.